Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. This is a video response to Ben of T-Rex Spacestation. Last time I did one of these, I had to rearrange the camera because I got to reach for some games, and I'm about to do that again. Also, Alan of Meme Meister has been asking about my computer space, so I thought I'd show it off again. It does work. If I turn it on, though, it's a little noisy with the fan and stuff like that, so I'm just going to leave it sort of as a background showpiece. So Ben, he every once in a while likes to post a question to the community of what are 5 games in your collection, and he asks things like, what's the cheapest game you ever had, or what's the hardest game you never finished, or that kind of stuff. He's posted another one of those, and this is my answer to that. I hope I get this order right. Anyway, the first game, or the first question about your games he wanted to know is just to show off something in your collection that you haven't shown yet. Now, I've only been on YouTube a couple of years, so I haven't really even touched maybe 10% of my entire collection, but I thought, okay, well, let's just grab something that I enjoyed, that I've got a little thing to say, and the first one that came to mind was Okami Den for the original Nintendo DS. If you've ever played the original Okami game on the PS2, you're using this magic paintbrush to release energy and defeat your foes. It's got a really cool art style to it. It's set in like this Japanese watercolor painting kind of a world. Now, they also released Okami on the Wii, where you're using the Wii remote to do the painting, which is a bit better. But then when they mentioned that this one is coming out for the DS, I thought, yeah, to me that's really going to work, because when you're actually using a stylus on a touchscreen. That's the best way to go. Now, I was a little put off when I saw that the style was more cutesy chibi kind of a thing, and I thought, typical DS stuff, we're going for the child element. But then I read an interview with, I can't remember the fellow who invented or created Okami. He had said that when they were first seeing can they even do this, the little character they had running around in the world kind of had a reduced number of polygons, but it looked like a cute cub, and they thought, well, why don't we do one about the cub of, is it Amaterasu is the wolf from the first Okami game? This is her baby, and he's running around doing stuff. It's a really good game. It was one of the last games I got for the DS, and since switching to the 3DS, I haven't really ever gone back to this, so I don't think even though I really, really like it, it's a game I don't think I'm ever really going to talk about it in any situation, so this is a good time to showcase it. Okami Den for the DS. Ben's second question, I think it was the second question, is name a game in your collection with a Disney character in it. Now, I'm going to kind of cheating here. I looked through to see, do I have any Mickey Mouse or Goofy or Donald Duck games in my collection? Couldn't really find one, not quickly. But what I did find was Tron Evolution for the PS3. Tron's a Disney character, technically. It is true. If you watch the first film, you can actually see Mickey Mouse is in it. Has anyone else spotted that? Anyway, and Tron himself appears in this game, as does Clue, and I think there are scenes with Flynn, or at least his voice. So those characters from the original movie are in here. This is not a very good game. I mean, I got it because I saw some trailer that mentioned you can do the mini games where you're doing like the light cycle thing and the tank game. I really wanted to play that. But I tried playing the single player game. It's really not very good. Oh, note about the light cycles. There's either a code you can put in, or maybe you have to reach a certain level. I can't remember. But you can play those light cycle mini-map things as the original 1982 graphics. So you can actually switch it down so that everything looks like it did in the original film, and you've got the old recognizers flying around and stuff. So, just for the light cycle sequence. So, yeah, they appear in the game. So, yeah, this has technically got Disney characters in it. But yeah, the game is not stellar. It's a lot of running, jumping, and a bit of combat using your frisbee, but I got about halfway through and I didn't like it. So, not a very good game, but it's a Disney game. Side note, I also didn't like the second movie. I should probably do a video about all that someday. But anyway, in addition though, I will give a major prop for, there was an anime that came out called, I think, Tron Legacy. Or is that the movie? Anyway, there's another one. And the anime was really good. It was on Netflix a while ago. I watched, it only lasted one season, but the 20-odd episodes, it was really good. So if you ever get a chance to see whatever that Tron anime was called, whose name escapes me. Go check it out, because it's really good. I almost wish they had just followed through with that. There's also talk they might do a third Tron film, but to be honest, given how I didn't like that second one, I can sort of... I'll pass. Ben's third question, I think I've got these in the right order, is name a game that isn't exclusive. And there's a lot of these, but the one that I went for, since we just talked about Disney characters in quotes, is Star Wars Rogue Leader for the Nintendo GameCube. Now Star Wars is a Disney sort of franchise, but you know, we'll say because this came out before then, it's a LucasArts or Lucasfilm property. This is a really good game. I mean, and it's too bad it only came out on the GameCube. It is the graphics look amazing, even by today's standards. On a 480p output like my Wii does, it looks gorgeous. On par with what Star Wars Battlefront looks like now. I mean, that's obviously way better, but this can stand toe-to-toe with it. It looks really, really good. So, Star Wars Rogue Leader, it's Rogue Squadron 2, because I think the first Rogue Squadron was an N64 game. This took it into a whole new dimension, and it looks great. It's very challenging. There was a second game of this, I guess, Rogue Squadron, Rogue Leader 3? I don't know. That one's got some very good elements. It's also got some very bad elements. But this one, awesome. Ben's fourth question was, name a game that takes place in the past. Now, there's a lot of these, and I thought, well, I could do like Red Dead Redemption or something, but I thought, no, let's sort of stick with, I think where Ben is going is something that really takes place in the real past, like is historically accurate or whatever. Much as Red Dead Redemption is awesome, it's not like in real Arizona or anything. It's this fictionalized Wild West with towns that don't really exist. So I thought, nah, it's a game from the past inspired, but it's not technically in the past. You could argue this one isn't either, but I'm going to go for it anyway. And this is Assassin's Creed. And this is the first game, which I really love. I talked quite a bit about Assassin's Creed on my channel already. I've been really enjoying Syndicate. And in fact, just this past summertime, I went to London and I dressed up and I put on a top hat and I went to the locations that exist in Syndicate. That was pretty cool. And also cool to see how accurately depicted from real life they are in the game. Similarly, about 2 years ago, I also went to Boston and I had a hoodie on and I did what appears in Assassin's Creed 3. I did that in real Boston and I was, again, amazed. So the Assassin's Creed franchise is just famous for being historically accurate, in quotes. I mean, it's a fantasy story, but they do a really good, they do their homework. I mean, those games are nicely couched in the past. And for some reason, the first one is still my favorite. I know that's weird. I mean, it's so bogged down with little mechanical problems, and I'll get into that another time, but the first game is still my favorite. So yeah, now there's 3 locations in this. What are they again? There's Baghdad and Jerusalem, and a third sort of medieval European city. I can't remember the name of it. I don't know that it's actually real. I could be wrong. Please correct me in the comments if you want. But yes, Assassin's Creed, love the whole series and definitely set in the past. And I always like the first one. And Ben's final question was, what is a game that made you think? And for that, there was no question in my mind which one I'm going to do. Hands down, it's Civilization 2 for the PC. This game had a major influence on me in my life. I mean, it would sound weird, and I'll probably do a fully detailed video about this, but I can actually trace where I am right now in my career and my home and everything that's happened that's been beneficial to me is actually inspired because of stuff I learned from Civilization 2. I owe a great deal of debt to this game. So, yeah, as a rudimentary version, though, of like, well, what did you learn exactly? Let me give you an example. So I fired up the game, and anybody who's played it knows the Civilization sort of basics, but I'll give you a bird's eye view. You start off, you're a little, caveman sort of group wandering through the land. You build up a little town, you build roads to other towns, you invent fire and the wheel, and eventually, you can create railroads and electricity and airplanes and that kind of thing. You are tracing your civilization from the very, very rudimentary basics up to space travel. I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to start this game up and I'm going to follow kind of that Star Trek kind of existence of, hey man, let's all just get together and let's just be peaceful to each other, man. Let's just, peace and love. Let's be cool with each other. So I thought, all right, well, what's the first thing? What's the first technology you want to research? I don't know. Let's do building roads. Okay, cool. That sounds great. What's the first thing you want to build for your city? I don't know. Let's do a granary so that my people are all well fed. Awesome, great. And then I noticed this red dot appear on the map, and I'm like, oh, okay. Now, having played this game before, I knew what that was. You meet other civilizations in this game. You can meet like the Japanese or the Americans or the English or whatever. And they've got towns and roads and technologies of their own. But to mix it up, Sid Meier's group had actually made these roving bands of barbarians. They're the red guys. And they don't have a town per se. They do in the later games, but they just roll around and they fight you. And when I saw them appear on the edge of my map, I was like, I didn't think in terms of the barbarians. I was thinking, hey man, I'm going to be cool with the Japanese and the Indians and everybody else that comes along. These barbarians don't want to talk. They're going to come in and destroy me. And they did. I had no defenses. I had nothing. I was not prepared to actually fight anything because I was trying to be the sort of groovy, let's all get together type of hippie guy. So I learned that mistake. And that is something that I learned. It made me sort of realize, probably in our actual history, we are all, as much as we'd like to get along, and we are, I'd like to think, a very peaceful species at our core, you do have to, build a moat around your town, or put some walls up, or at least have somebody with some kind of defense standing by, because if barbarians come along and they don't want to talk, they just want to take your stuff, you're gonna die if you don't do anything about it. And I just thought, kind of an interesting perspective. It made me look at a lot of early history in school, and I just thought, yeah, it's interesting. I learned something from that game. It's made me have a new perspective. All right, so there's my 5 questions answered to Ben of T-Rex Spacestation. I'll put a link below to Ben's video. And before I go, I'd like to do another shout out because Alan Stewart, Maymeister, has mentioned we should be doing more shout outs, and I'd like to do one too. The guy I'd like to mention is actually somebody that Alan mentioned a little while ago. His channel is Deadthumb Gamer. He does a lot of vertical shoot 'em ups and stuff, and he posts pretty often, so he's got some nice content that comes out. What I really like about him though is his manner of speaking is like this weirdly poetic sing-song type of thing. You almost think you're listening to somebody perform a bit of lyrical poetry, but he's just talking about a video game. He just does it in this very neat kind of style. It's quite fascinating to listen to. But what's majorly the reason I want to give him a shout out, he is big on doing community reach outs and comments and discussion. He will leave paragraph long comments in my comments or comment section of some of my videos. He really goes into detail. He loves to get conversation going, and I really, my hat is off to him for that. So, total shout out for Deadthumb Gamer. I put a link down to his channel down below in the description. And on that note, I'm going to wrap up my video. So, there we go. My answers to T-Rex Space Station. And I guess until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.